What's up, guys? Welcome back. New episode on the big purple thing, uterus thing. So today, or this episode, we're going to be working on getting the motor and box back in this thing finally after all this time. So going back in again. This time, fingers crossed, it's the last time that it goes back in. We've still got a little bit to do. We've got to actually fabricate up a mount for the center bearing for the tail shaft and stuff like that. So still a little bit of that to do, and then obviously we have to fabricate the exhaust and make the fuel system and stuff. So it's the next step, get it all in the car and go from there. So where we left off last episode, Rex had just sorted out pretty much mounting of all the things in the front end here. About the last thing we're waiting on is our actual oil cooler. He mounted the remote oil filter block, all that stuff's already done. Anything that he could think of that we would want to do before we had an engine in the way here, Rex sorted out last episode. So we are, like I said, at this point, we're ready to get this motor and box back in. We've got our converter bolts here finally, get the converter in here and all that. And as you've seen, we've got the tail shaft here, but there's a little bit of fabrication to do with getting the tail shaft in there. So it's pretty wild. I'll lay the new tail shaft next to the old one and show you a look at the difference. It is wild. But anyway, we've got to get the rest of the exhaust system out as well. Got our new tough mounts, engine mounts here, ready to go in. As we decided, you know, while this thing was aspirated, the old engine mounts probably would have been alright, but with the sort of power we're going to be looking at pushing, we really needed to put some really good engine mounts in this thing. Are you tired of looking like an idiot, always getting it wrong, wearing the same old boring shirts? You need our latest Boost Gumps merch, designed by the best in the business. Get yours today. Unleash the super mechanic within. Here is the big girl. About the last thing we're waiting on is our belt, the right belt to get here. Still waiting on that to get here, but as you saw in the last episode, we've pinned the balancer, so the crank's been pinned. You know, we've got our little crank scraper / girdle set up in there. Everything on this thing's pretty much ready to go. We're just going to pull the supercharger off. We're going to put the supercharger on after the engine's in the car, just because of how much this is probably going to foul with the cowl that comes out at the back of the bonnet and stuff like that. We've, you know, it can be a bit of a pain sometimes, particularly with the later Commodores like the VEVFs, but we figured it's not going to hurt to do the same with this, just to make sure that we don't get it halfway in and we find that it's fouling or in the way or something like that, because then it's a real pain. We've got all our fuel system bits, surge tank, Walbro 530 LPH pump, which is going to be fine for this thing on pump fuel. At this stage, that's our new tail shaft. You can see it's monstrous. So this is thanks to Faro Shafting in Nambour, made this up for us. So huge thanks to Faro Shafting. They're always looking after us for our shafts. So real good shafting from them. And then obviously our gearbox and converter and our bolts. Let's get it done, son. So with the blower out of the way, I can actually finally show you what I meant by getting this plate milled down to clear the supercharger. So these little button head bolts are supplied by Harrop for this exact reason, because they know the other one's foul. But what we found when we fit the supercharger, which you would have seen in the last episode, even the edge of the plate came very, very close to where the supercharger was sitting. So we decided to, instead of milling down each hole to get the bolt flush, we thought we'd just mill down the whole side. We'll get the whole side milled down. Still plenty of meat on there, like still keeps a lot of integrity for the gasket and the plate and everything. It's not like this is really a high pressure area anyway, but it just keeps it way out of the way of the supercharger, which is awesome. And you can see our new ARP head studs. You can see where Rex flipped these heads around so that this one that had been tapped is on the back, so that we plug that up, and that's just your regular old block off, which actually worked really well, as Rex pointed out. Where the supercharger actually fits at the back here, we don't reckon you'd actually get one of these on this side, or it would be a real pain at least where the supercharger sits. So all worked out really well in the end, like it was made for it. And this is also supplied with the kit to clear everything, so very cool and good. It's going to be awesome to finally get this thing sorted after all these months of building it and building it and building it. And oh. Oh, I thought you were going to take it to the car. Huh? Just need a flower girl. There we go. Now kiss. Kiss. so currently on to making a new mount for our new centre bearing on the new tail shaft. As you can see, we've got our new U-butte centre bearing. Unfortunately, the length is just a few mil off. Rex is looking at making a mount like this, cutting that out. He's going to use the plate to box that back in after that, and that should be low enough, and there should be enough width on it that it all should work. Alright, so this is what Rex is doing with this fuel tank, which is always a lot of fun, working on these tanks with only that much space to get in. But as you can see, we've got a bulkhead fitting on the top of the tank. Because these are an internally regulated setup, there's not really any return. As you can see, we've only got a feed line out of the actual hanger. So we had to put a bulkhead fitting in. This is now our fuel return. That's going to be our return from the surge. And what Rex has done is on the back side of that fitting, he's actually got some submersible fuel hose, which is going to run down into the pot so that it actually returns back into the pot. Now, the second issue that we found with this setup is that the way that these internal reg setups work in the hangar, they sort of need pressure in order to regulate fuel and also to pick up fuel. So at this stage, we're thinking about just getting an adjustable ball valve to put in this feed line to the surge so that we can actually give it just a little bit of pressure so that it actually pick up properly. It's a cheap way to get out of it. Just do out the ball valve so it's got a little bit of pressure and lock it off, and we should be all sweet. It's a bit hard to see, but you can see our fuel hose at the back there. And that just goes down into the pot to ensure that the fuel returns into the pot so the pot stays full. So this is just a dummy fit to make sure it's all going to work. Still got a hose clamp everything, but it's looking pretty good. So that'll sort of be the circuit of the lift pump to the surge tank. And we're just talking about putting a little pressure gauge and a little ball valve in line so that we can adjust the pressure to make sure it has pressure and it'll pick up and flow fuel and keep the surge fed. And then yeah, from the surge obviously will be our 530 LPH fuel line up to the front, and then a return back to the surge as well. So easy as. So the way these pots work, they're internally regulated, but they sort of rely on almost like a Venturi system to draw fuel. So this actually goes over to the passenger side hump on the tank. And it's designed as it pumps, it draws fuel through this as well as through another pickup on the bottom of the pot there. So if you have no pressure and it's just free flowing, the pump will just empty the pot, and it won't really pick up, it won't draw fuel into the pot from these 2 points. So in that way it won't work very well at all. That's why we have to have some sort of pressure, or keep some pressure in the line, in the system, to make sure that it keeps these Venturi sort of almost like draw into the pots still work the way it should. Alright, so as part of fitting the blower, you actually have to modify the plug here on the cam angle sensor and take off the little lip on that so that it doesn't foul with the blower. So we've done that. So we're just about ready to get the blower on here. We've just received the new belt, which should actually be the right size, so we sort of really want to get the blower on soon to just double check that it is the right belt. After I think this is the second or third one we've had. The other thing we found is the map sensor bracket, like, it must be for a different kind of map sensor. It's really strange. So it doesn't quite fit our 2-bar map sensor exactly how we would like to. So we got to do a bit of, I suppose, modification to make sure it's gonna hold the map sensor correctly. Woo, get a few things out of the box. So the map sensor bracket's been sorted out and it's holding that pretty well, so we should be good there. Woohoo! Alright.
Big moment.
The big moment. Take one last look at that beautiful CNC port. Hopefully, we won't have to see it again. Time is finally here.
Alright, let's do this.
Let's get it. Woo-wee! Big old whiny boy. hearth. Alright, so before we pulled our pipes back out again to take the motor back out, we just went ahead and marked a few more places where they needed just a little bit more clearancing. So, going to clearance them up a bit, but going to take this opportunity to give them a bit of a new flicker coat of paint, just because after being in and out of the car, I think at this point they've been in and out of the car about 5 or 6 times. They've just gotten a bit, you know, scratched up, and then having to re-clearance them has scratched them up again as well. So, I figure hopefully this is the last time they have to go in, so I'll give them a fresh lick of paint. Rex has just been working out where he's going to mount the reservoir and our reg, and where we're going to mount everything and work everything in here. And yeah, it's all looking like it's all going to be pretty fine and dandy. Should be good. So we're just waiting until we get our pipes in to actually get our coil packs on and finish the wiring loom, getting that all in. Pretty much easier to take these valve covers off to get the pipes in, so coil packs end up in the way, but basically at this point it's just pretty much keep on going with mounting stuff up, keep on going, get our pipes in, get the wiring loom in, then we can get a radiator in and stuff like that, and just basically start buttoning everything together. And then after that, this weekend I'll go head down to the coast, but I'm pretty sure Rex's plan is to probably build the exhaust. Is that your plan for the weekend, Rex?
Yeah, I think that.
After we'd spent today on it, I won't be here for the weekend, but Rex will probably keep going with building the exhaust, which is fine. You'll just probably see the final product when it's done. But this car,
I can only build so much of it because Matt's still got those cut out.
Oh, that's right. Matt wants to put...
modified.
Yeah, so...
I can build it like the X pipe, I can get to the back of the cab pretty much, and that's as far as I can get.
Yeah, right. Point. So the owner wants to put bimodal, like up the back just near the mufflers. So, yeah, can't finish it off. But anyway, the plan for this car was to just build a mild steel exhaust. Is that still what's going on? No, we're doing stainless? 304. So, stainless now. So, anyway, it'll be all stainless, TIG welded. You'll see Rex's craftsmanship. And we've still got to sort out a fair bit with the intake at the front corner here with what we want to do with that. So, there'll just be a little bit of tedious mucking around, but I'll check in every now and then. Righto, guys. So, for the remainder of the day, it's just been a little bit of tidbits, getting a few things sorted, getting some radiator pipes and heater lines and stuff in. This pipe's in, finalised, starters in. Just going through doing bits and bobs. Rex has he's just finished making a bracket for the regulator that's going to mount off those 2 posts on the firewall there, which is the old location of the throttle, what do they call it, throttle dampener for the traction control cars. Relaxer, yeah. So obviously this car is not a traction control car, so those 2 posts are conveniently there for us to mount the regulator off. So that's what's going on there. We haven't got this pipe in yet because we still have to do our oil lines off the block on the side of the engine block. So they're going to come up the front here to where you saw the filter remote mount is, and then also our oil cooler setup and that. So this pipe stays out for now, but that's okay. We've dummy fitted it, made sure everything clears and it's all good. The other thing is it's probably good to have it out of the way for now until we finish the fuel line, because it's probably going to have to come up around that area somewhere as well. Anyway, Rex has been pretty much just busy ticking along with what he can. We did get a very important package today, it's Friday afternoon at the moment, just for context, and I was really hoping this would come today. So this is Bend Brothers. So for anyone who's familiar with Bend Brothers do a lot of really good pre-cut things like pie cuts, good mandrel bends in stainless and alley. Essentially fabrication supplies, as it says right there, right on your screen, but supplies that are really handy for people like us who want to do a lot of fab work, but we don't have the specialty tools that you need to do really good fab work. You know, ideally to do really good fab work, you really need to have a good bandsaw so you can get precise cuts, so you can close your gaps right up, so you can do good welds and fuses and stuff like that. So for us who have persisted with just a drop saw and a grinder for so long, it gets difficult and it's frustrating because you know that you could do better work if you had the right tooling. But Bend Brothers do a lot of pre-cut pie cuts, stuff like that. He also does these, which are very, very important. These are stencils for line marking. So this is a stencil for 3-inch tube, straight tube, and this is going to allow us to get completely straight lines to mark to do our cuts with. And here is one for mandrel bends, so you can actually get a straight cut on a bend, which without something like this is just absolutely painful to try and get. So
yeah, we were using like masking tape to try and tape it straight and then draw it or cut it, and it's just...
And then you cut it and then it's not right, and then you've got to try and use like a sanding disc to sand it flat so that you can get a good joint. It's time consuming and it's painful. So for such a simple tool, these are actually amazingly useful, particularly for people like us. So I was really hoping these would come here today so that we had them, or more specifically Rex had them for the weekend to complete the exhaust. So this is going to be full twin 3-inch exhaust. As we talked about before, it's going to only do so much at the moment with what we've got, but these are just going to make it that much nicer to do. So absolutely lovely. He also gave us this banner to put up on the wall somewhere. We'll find somewhere to put it up that's going to be nice. Give us a shirt to wear and stuff. So huge thanks to Ben Brothers. They're not very expensive. Head to his website and check it out. We'll leave his website in the description of the video. But anyway, that's where I'm going to leave you on this one. It's probably where we'll actually end the video. This episode is probably enough content. So we'll check back in after the weekend, see what Rex has been up to. I'll give you a tour of what he's done on Monday morning over the weekend. But looking forward to seeing it. This thing's getting some good progress. Really looking forward to seeing this thing done. It's been an up and down ride with this thing being here so long, but it's so nice to see it at this stage with the blower on it. We're so excited for this car. Anyway, look how tough that looks. Awesome to see it at this point. Can't wait to finish this thing off. It's going to be so tough. Loving it. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. As always, see you on the next episode. Peace out. See you. Bye.